There's something deep inside. There's nowhere to hide. Soul talking. Hi everybody, and welcome to episode 4 of series 2 of my interview series Soul Talking, where I sit down with like-minded people to talk about their lives and their journey over a cup of tea and just chat really about their journey, about their experiences growing up, their empathy and love for the animals, and their spiritual path. Today, I am sitting down, and I'm really excited about this because I'm sitting down with the very lovely Amy Casswell over here. Hi, Amy.
Hello.
Hello. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this.
No, thank you.
Guys, Amy, this is a bit about Amy. Amy is 20 years old. Can't believe you're only 20. God, I'm feeling old now.
No, only just as well. In March I
Right,
was.
right, all right. Amy's 20 years old, but you know what, guys? She is such an old soul. Amy says that her family have always been around animals, cats, dogs, horses, even pigs. And Amy says that each animal in her family has taught her so much and been a huge part of her spiritual journey. Amy is also a musician and she plays drums and guitar, to name but a few instruments. I think piano a little bit as well. So she's multi-talented with her music. And Amy says that she feels the guitar playing and music in general has been a massive part of her spiritual journey too. I love to hear that because music is so important. Amy is also into, ready for this, extreme sports. I know. She loves snowboarding and skateboarding. To me, she reminds me so much of an Avril Lavigne kind of person. But of course, she's her own very special person. And Amy's journey continues, as all of ours do. Welcome,
Thank you. Thank you, Richard, very much. I'm very happy to
whoever you want me to call you.
be.
Lovely to have you here, Amy. You know, there's something about you, Amy. You are an old soul. I recognized that and felt that and could see that in your aura from the moment that I met you. But you are so grounded to doing all of this in such a lovely way that I don't think there's that many young people that are at this point in their life. And it's just beautiful. And this light around you is just so special. And I always feel so uplifted when I'm around you. And I just feel like I know we've got lots in common with music and animals, but I feel real affinity to you and actually quite protective over you and
Oh,
where you at with your animal communication. And I'm so proud to be but just a little part of your journey of you've got so much more to go on and I'm so excited and I say this to you every time where you're going to go next, Amy, you know.
thank
So
you,
yeah,
Richard. That means a lot. Thank you.
you know how it works. Let's go
Mm.
back right to the beginning of those 20 years.
Yes, yeah.
And can you just share with people at home? Because you know what, for you, it's so important that I have so many different people from walks of life that engage with my work and animal communication. And as I've said, even young people can be so grounded to it. So for all the people watching at home, including the younger people, teenagers in their early 20s, here's Amy as a shining beacon of what's possible.
Well, as soon as I can remember, really,
Yeah,
I've always, we've always been a very sort of, I guess, grounded family, I suppose,
yeah.
in a way. And um, I've always been aware of sort of spirituality in a way. It's never been in like high level. The whole life is about that. It's just how we are.
That whole thing about your family was spiritual. You talked
Yeah,
about
yeah,
your mum in your bio about
yeah.
her being very spiritual. So I guess was it from your mum that you were kind of open
Yeah,
to it all?
definitely. And her mum as well, my granny, um,
Right.
I've sort of learned later. She passed away, I think, in 2017. But I think later on in her life, she became very, very spiritual herself, and so that's been sort of passed down to my mum and then passed down to me,
Right.
which is really nice. And I've always felt that she's always been a big part of me, and if ever on the courses or just in meditation, um, I always feel she's close by and always around, which is really, really lovely. Yeah, my mum is also very just sort of, living in the moment, spiritual calm presence in my life. And growing up it was really nice. I had sort of the animals and my mum
Yeah.
that I'd spend time with. Like we do all the horses and the dogs, that'd be sort of our thing. And then my
Close
dad,
knit.
it was like an equally closeness but through music, and it'd be sort of me and him doing like playing guitar together. So I had both those things like equally growing up,
Oh,
which
that's
was just really,
lovely.
really nice and in their own way, very different, but also very, very similar in terms of everything, really. So,
So, with your spirituality, being a kid growing up, and you felt you were spiritual. A lot of kids, I mean, we talk about when you were a lot younger,
hmm
like I was when I started seeing spirit around me, and not just feelings and emotions and sensations, but actually visually seeing them as well. Can you describe anything from when you were young of this whole feeling of spirit? I mean, as
Mm.
a kid, did you have any of those experiences?
I I don't think I never really had any sort of like visions, or I never really saw anything.
Right.
Mm. But I'd I'd quite often just feel just nice presences around, and I was always very, my mum told me when I was really, really little, I'd be really all the little animals like on the ground, like if I was just walking and there's like a snail on the ground, I'd pick it up and sort of be looking at that. And so it was more sort of grounding with the physical
Yeah,
world
yeah, yeah,
in
yeah.
that way. And I never really had any major uh,
Apparitions.
yeah, not
Or
really,
just a
but
friend. Like lots of kids have like someone that they talk to, they call it a pretend
yeah,
friend, and actually invariably it ends up being a guide that we
yeah,
grow
yeah.
up
I
and
did
learn
have
what to do.
a few imaginary friends,
You
but again,
did.
I never saw them. I just sort of spoke about them, and they were just like my mates that I would play with when I was really
But
little.
that's interesting, isn't it? Does it make you
Mm.
wonder now whether or not they were guides at that time or around you in energy and they weren't just
Yeah,
made up friends?
yeah, yeah, definitely. Because I
Think
mean,
about
that must be, even if at the time that was kind of normal to me, they were there, but
it.
the fact that they were there, they must mean something that they,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
This is the thing about you. You feel very balanced as a person at your age. So, as a kid, you were, by having a great family to grow up with and
Yeah,
animals around you, able to have a really balanced growing up life of
yeah,
human existence and just being able to go, yeah, I believe in all that spiritual side. And I have feelings and I feel energy and that nice feeling and the animals around me. And I'm just kind of rocking with it.
yeah,
That's what you
exactly.
are. You're just rocking with it,
Yeah,
going with the flow in a grounded
yeah,
way. That's
yeah, that sums it up totally.
Could you share with us of an animal that was quite significant in your life and had a big impact on your life?
Yeah.
If you
Well,
can.
yeah, of course. I mean, the first ever animals we had when I was really little, we had two cats at the time. And then when I was must have been sort of 7-ish years old, we got our very first dog. I was so excited. We
Were
were
you? What? Because dogs, you feel a difference with dogs to cats.
Um, I think I've always been closer to dogs,
Right.
like my dogs, but I think that's mostly because my two cats passed away when I was fairly young, and
Right.
so my one of the cats was sort of more my brother's, and I think they were really close. And then when we rescued my dog, her name was Zorba, she was sort of
Orba.
more mine. We rescued her from Greece.
Right.
I was must have been about 7 years old. And it was just she was so lovely. She was
Was so excited.
so excited,
Amy
yeah.
was getting
Yeah,
we say our own, but of course we're just carers.
yeah, yeah,
Got this dog in your life as a kid, your own dog. I get it.
yeah,
Going to be your best friend. You're going to be able to do all this stuff together. I love that.
yeah,
That how it
exactly.
was.
And yeah, we were just best friends, and she'd always come into my room and we'd just hang out and play together
Chill.
and just chill. And she was so lovely. And then we had just her for a while, and then we rescued another dog from England this time, not Greece,
Mm.
called Cassie, who was just a big, gentle giant. She was a Rottweiler cross German Shepherd. Um,
Yeah, I remember her for some
and
reason.
yeah, she's very big, like physically big as well, presence. So loyal and loving, and both of them together were just best friends. It was really, really lovely. And then,
Oh,
and then when I was a few years later, we didn't have Zorba for that long because unfortunately one day she ran a bit too far away from home and unfortunately got hit by a car, which was very, very sad and just very shocking and it just came out of nowhere really. She was still really young. She was sort of in our lives for a short moment, a couple of years, few years, but we all got so, so close to her. And then sort of, yeah, she passed away. And I remember I understood what was going on, but yeah, it was obviously devastating. And I remember a few days after she passed away, I had this really vivid dream, which I guess would have been one of my first sort of more spiritual
yeah,
experiences.
yeah.
And I had this dream that we were in this, I think it was a cornfield or some like big yellow plants in this field. And she came running up to me and just sort of was running up to me like she would in this physical
In real
life
life,
in
like
real
in,
life. And she just sort of came up to me and sort of told me she was okay. And we just sort of hung out again. And then she like ran off again into the
what
field.
did it feel like was happening in that dream? Why'd she come to you?
It just sort of felt like it felt very normal and
Hmm.
like it was just, it was always going to happen. It was meant to happen. And she just was sort of coming back just to tell us she was okay. And she was just
Feels
loving life now. She can run off as much as she
it's
wants.
hard losing animals at any point in life, and there's plenty of people I know that who are watching this that have had massive loss with animals, and they are our family. They become part of
Yeah.
our family. And when we're kids, we don't have the understanding, no matter how grounded you are in your is who you are in your soul that you are,
Yeah.
it's still massive losing animals.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's something we have to work through.
Hmm.
Feel that, do you feel she taught you anything?
um Love for an animal, she was kind of my first love, I suppose. Yeah, she just taught me to love and in yeah, for a dog it was lovely.
See, and it's kind of like even growing up, that's what animals are there to teach us
Mm.
about love
Yeah.
and kind of like acceptance. So you had the acceptance of whatever is to come.
Hmm.
And yeah, that resilience comes from having acceptance.
Yeah.
And you had that even then in some way.
Hmm.
Pigs.
Yes.
Tell me about these pigs. Coonies.
Cooney pigs. I'd say around 6 years ago, maybe.
Right.
Um, we we saw this post on Facebook in one of the Leicestershire or Loughborough vegans Facebook community about these two pigs that someone was selling either to go as pets or if no one wanted them, then they'd go off for meat. And then the person who'd done the post said, "Look, by Saturday, if no one's come and got them, then we're going to send them off to the market. Like we can't keep these anymore."
Yeah.
So we were like, right, all right, then we'll go over with the horse trailer and we'll just take them for a little bit until a place at a sanctuary nearby becomes
Oh,
available.
so you were like a foster. You were going
Yeah,
into it from a foster point of view,
yeah,
but
exactly.
fosterers that never actually gave them back. Come on now.
Yeah,
No.
because that was yeah 6 or 7 years ago. So we took them home, and we were fortunate enough to at that time have this bit of land just outside our house. So we had the space and sort of the supplies we needed having horses. So yeah, we just kind of rolled with it, and we'd never sent them to a sanctuary.
Do you still have them?
Yes, we
What are
do.
their names?
There's Joe and Ben.
We do shout out to Joe and
Joe
Ben.
and Ben, yeah.
So every
Um,
species is different, and they bring something different to us in
mm,
that energy. Can you describe what that is with pigs? I mean, how are they different to, say, dogs
yeah.
in your
They they're what I've sort of noticed about them, they're just open and accepting of whatever conditions they're in. And I think that to me, I feel that's because pigs generally are, raised for meat essentially, or, they're bred into captivity and then they're, raised in horrible conditions for meat. But so I think even though these two were never in that situation, they've sort of always been pets. The vibe they give to me is they're just grateful for anything they're sort of getting. And even if it's raining and their little field is just full of mud and and it's not very what we wouldn't think is a nice environment, they're just so happy and chill, and they're like, oh yeah, just sort of
happy as
vibing
pigs in
here.
mud, or
Yeah,
whatever they say
exactly.
it, don't they? I'm sure they do. I
Yeah,
always feel an energy about pigs. I mean, we pass any animals, farm animals or animals that are going to be in the food chain. I mean,
mm,
when I see the sheep and the lambs, I'm like, bless them all. I want to burst into tears because I think,
yeah,
how long have you got? And then I remember only a few weeks ago we passed a pig farm and I saw them all and they looked so they're so grounded, aren't they? Even though, I mean, all animals even in the food chain have this acceptance of what's to come.
yeah,
But there is a real grounding feeling
yeah,
around pigs. I get the gratitude. That's beautiful.
yeah.
But do they feel grounded to you?
Yeah, and that acceptance you mentioned, just they're just accepting and happy with anything we can provide for them. And yeah,
Could be
and
like that.
mm,
And this is the world that you're growing up into. That I'm not patronizing you, it's the truth. When a lot of us aren't here anymore, you're still going to be going in this world. And
yeah, yeah,
that this is the thing, isn't it? About being grateful,
yeah,
gratitude, and accepting everything as it is, and just be
yeah,
grateful for what we have.
yeah, definitely.
Be grateful for what you have in life.
Absolutely. It feels like every other day I'm writing in my journal, just filling up the page of everything I'm grateful for, whether it be just that day or, in general in life. And yeah, I created this piece of artwork once I just painted this canvas in brown and then wrote in white letters grateful in the middle and then just filled up the canvas around it with everything I'm grateful for. And
Beautiful.
I've got that hanging in my room.
That's beautiful. Give us a few things that you're grateful for in life. I find it quite humbling to hear this.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I always sort of start with the things that are closest to me. So myself, for one, and this
Absolutely.
body and my sort of spirit, and so blessed to be able to have this body that works and I'm healthy. And then to have my family, I sometimes can't believe it how blessed we are. My entire family, we're all just so close, and I think that's so quite rare,
Mm.
um, especially
Yeah.
nowadays.
Yeah.
And both my parents still together, still love each other
Yeah.
so much. I'm so grateful for
I
that.
feel so emotional listening to this because it's so beautiful,
Yeah.
isn't
Yeah.
it? That's it's a crazy world we live in. It's
Mhm.
difficult
Yeah.
relationships, it's difficult in life. To hear this is so lovely. So you're grateful for your family.
Yes, definitely. And just the life I've been blessed with on this time round. Just to have experienced everything I've experienced so far in these not many years on Earth. And yeah, it's been amazing. And every little thing, every day I was walking the dogs this morning and this little butterfly just sort of passed off in front of me, and I was like, oh, there's a nice little butterfly, how lovely. And just any little thing, I love it.
I love
Yes.
that. I really do, Amy. It's so special. So when did horses come in to the? of
Yeah.
courses.
So
We've got cats, dogs,
yes,
pigs.
pigs, and
How
then
young were you when the horses? What is your early memories of horses? Because I know
so
you're very horsey.
yes, yes, definitely. And I mean that's how we sort of first got met each other, wasn't it? Through the
Yeah.
horses.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, my it's always been my mum and my granny actually. My granny used to have a horse. Um, I think was I around? Maybe like one. I was like 1 years old when her horse passed away, maybe. Maybe that was
Right.
my brother. Um, and then my mum had a horse growing up that she actually rode to her wedding, when
Wow. So
she
she was
got
there in the
married.
wedding
So,
dress. In the
yeah,
wedding dress on
the
the
wedding
horse.
dress on the horse, and her name was Rachel, and that's one of my middle names as well, which is really lovely. Um,
So Rachel obviously had a big impact on your mum.
I think so, yeah. She sounded just amazing. I've seen pictures of me sort of in the pushchair next to her.
Oh,
So from a very, very early age, I've been around her. And then when she passed away, I think I must have been, under 3 at some point.
when you look back at those pictures of her, how does it make you feel when you see the pictures of you as a little baby in a push
Yeah.
next to Rachel? How does it?
It's so it's so just full of love, I think. I look at them and I'm like, she's always, she was there from day one. And as the horse that she sounded incredible, that just so full of love and
Detective?
protective, yeah. And it just, yeah, it fills me with love every time I see the pictures of her. And I've actually got for my 8th birthday, Jellycat toys.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
mum got me she was a Palomino pony, and my mum got me a Palomino horse Jellycat for my 8th birthday, and I called her Rachel, and she's the one that I still sleep with to this day, and I think I will do for
Oh,
forever.
oh my
So
God. So
no,
she is like a protection.
yeah, yeah,
Definitely
definitely.
something there. That's so
Yeah.
beautiful. What about other horses then? So other
So
ponies
yeah,
coming into your
yeah,
life personally for you to
yeah.
have a relationship
So
with?
after Rachel, there was a few years when I was in sort of school where my mum didn't get another one. And then when I was around 7 or 8, I think, she was sort of acquired. She was kind of riding this horse and then ended up keeping him, called Tommy. And that was the
Never
lovely
told me.
Tommy, who was my mum's. And so yeah, since then I'd sort of ride him a little bit. He was very, very quite big and very gangly. He was just so sweet and funny. He was hilarious, just the
He
way he
cheered you
was.
up. You found him quite uplifting.
Yeah, definitely. And so we'd sort of spend time with him, with my mum. And then but he was always sort of my mum's horse, she was always closest to him. Um
Yeah, because I just want to say there that that's how I got to meet your mum the first time
yeah,
was he'd asked me to come out and do some communications at the yard.
yeah,
And
that's
it
right.
was Tommy that I've got a really special picture of me just sort of crouched down in the stable and he's just put his head into me in the field shelter because he didn't like stables. He liked the
Yeah.
field shelter, or I think that was quite rare. He even went in that, to be
Mhm.
honest. But he did that day and he did want to spend time with me. And I found him a very old soul and very protective.
Yeah.
And I have not seen a picture of Rachel, your mum's horse. But it
Hmm.
kind of feels like he was also very much like her in that respect.
Yeah, yeah,
Old
definitely.
and wise and protective. When
He
did he pass?
he it was yeah, about a year or maybe a year and a half ago.
Yeah,
Um, yeah.
that
Which,
must have been hard for you all.
yeah, it was
Or maybe it wasn't. I mean, I say hard for people, but sometimes, I mean, we have to look at it as a celebration, but we have our grieving
yeah.
through.
I think because he was the one that, he'd been around me for sort of as long as I can remember, really. And so when he just wasn't in the field anymore, it was like, oh, it was a strange feeling. But at the same time, yeah, we just knew um,
Adorable.
that he'd be okay. And we're up in the field, just next to the horses' field where they are. We've got a bit of a pet graveyard going on just in the trees, and it's such a lovely place. It's just so peaceful, and we've got, all the dogs and like my auntie's dog and my granddad's dog who have all passed away. We've managed to keep they're all buried there and yeah, Tommy's there, Charlie's there. And it's a really peaceful, nice place and it just makes me feel like they're all still really close, even
Yeah.
though I feel that anyway because their spirits are. But
Yeah.
I walk past it every day and I'm like, hi guys, I always still say
Yeah.
hello.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just lovely.
I get it. And you mentioned Charlie, and I'd like if we could talk about Charlie a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
He was massive in your life.
He
Who
was.
was Charlie?
So, so Charlie was this little grey tiny pony, who lived in a field with a little Shetland, sort of near to where we lived. We used to walk the dogs kind of near the field, and we sort of kept an eye on them, and they were just in awful health state, and their hooves were incredibly
Oh my
overgrown.
goodness.
And it's, the sort of thing you walk past and you wish you could just scoop them both up and take them, but obviously it's not likely
It's
to work
easy,
like
isn't
that
it?
and happen, yeah. And then one day, the Shetland had gone, and we later found out that it had passed away in the
Oh
field.
my goodness.
So it was just Charlie left all on his own, just looking so, so sad and, could barely stand up. And we thought we've got to do something about this.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was it was one day after I'd just been to a local riding show with my friend, and we st had the trailer still on the car. We'd dropped the horse off, so it was an empty trailer. And we drove past and we thought, shall we just knock on the door to the owners and just basically ask if we can take this pony? It was a very random situation. Knocked on the door and we basically said we sort of had this story that we were looking for a companion for one of our other horses, and we're absolutely in love with this little pony in your field, and can we buy him off you? Um, and amazingly, he just sort of said, "Yeah, take him for free." And we offered money, and he's like, "Yeah, no, take him."
Oh my goodness.
We were like, "Oh my God, okay." We ran back to the car, and we were like, "He said yes, he
The
said
trailer
yes."
was there already, right?
Yes, and so we yeah, said to the guy, "Oh, we've just come from a horse show. We've got the trailer. Can we like take him now?" And he was like, "Yeah, just go for it."
Oh my
We're
God.
like, "Oh my God, okay." So parked on the side of the road, tried to open this gate, went into him, and he started walking away. And I
Yeah,
was like,
I know.
"Dude, we're trying to rescue
We're,
you."
we're giving you a home.
Yeah, and he wouldn't let us catch him. And we were like, "Oh my God, what if the guy changes his
Oh
mind?"
no, that must have been quite stressful.
Was a bit, but we managed to get him, just using some random like food we had in the car, and then managed to lead him onto the trailer, and he just walked straight on. And I think at that point he sort of knew that we were his friends, and it was going to be a good decision for him to come with us. And he became best friends with my little pony. She was my first sort of pony that again we kind of rescued from a very bad environment she was
Yeah,
in, a few years after my mum had had Tommy.
yeah.
And that was Rosie. She was my first pony, and she just would throw me on the floor so much. She didn't really enjoy being ridden. So after a couple of years,
Of
we
bruises and
yeah,
bounces.
and we were like, right, okay, we get the message. You can just chill. We were,
Especially,
fortunate enough to have this piece of land. We
yeah.
were just able
Well,
to
I
keep.
don't feel you wouldn't have kept her anyway.
Yeah,
So you would have found, I know you guys, you would have found a way. So,
yeah,
so what pony did you end up with where you went out? Because I've seen pictures of you jumping and doing things.
yes. Well, I attempted all that on Rosie. It didn't go
Yeah.
very well. She was like, absolutely not.
You jumped more
Um,
than she did.
so
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So we sort of Tommy retired a few years ago. We like early retired Rosie, so they lived together.
Yeah.
And then Charlie also went in with those two
Best
and
friends with Rosie, you were
best friend
saying.
of Rosie, yeah. And around sort of similar-ish time, I started riding another horse called Hazel, who again we still have. She's
Yeah.
incredible,
Yeah.
so spiritual. And so those four were kind of, they were a little gang, they were a little pack, they were together, in all such different ways, but
Yeah.
also amazing.
Yeah.
And then the one I do all the jumping with now, that's Ernie. who me and my mum share him, and I still ride him now. He's like, yeah, he's the only one we ride now, and he's
Well,
just brilliant.
Amy, I want to ask you actually about this because, you know, there's it can be a sensitive subject for some people because, um, you know, you enjoy riding
Yes.
and you like to go and do some jumping.
Yeah.
You're a deeply spiritual person. You come from a lovely place. Do you ever feel the constraints of doing that?
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
it's very interesting because
yeah,
lots of young
definitely.
people, lots of young girls enjoy all of that, but you can be both, right?
I mean, with all of the horses, really, um, like Rosie went after a few years. She obviously didn't enjoy being ridden. She just wanted to do whatever she
Yeah,
wanted. We
yeah,
we listened to her and we were like, okay, cool, that's fine. You've told us.
yeah.
We sort of learn what they like and what they don't like.
Course, of
Um,
course. You're
and
building
she,
a relationship more and more.
yeah,
You get to know each other more and more.
exactly.
And it's about listening to the animal.
Yeah,
And it's
that's it.
about sharing and being on a level where we're together. And it's like, do you want to do this? Or is it something I need to look about myself?
Yeah,
I want to do it and you don't really, or vice versa, or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
And giving them the best, well, just
yeah,
being open with them in a partnership to be able to share how they feel and what they want to do. That
yeah,
seems like that's been something that you've done with them clearly by you've listened to them and
yeah,
acknowledged where they've not wanted to do something, which I love because there's nothing worse than watching people forcing their animals to do things
yeah,
that clearly don't, that
exactly.
clearly aren't capable of doing it or just don't want to do it. You
Yeah,
said about Hazel, very spiritual. Can
yeah.
you explain to us why that is? So Hazel's who you went on to ride was your last
Yeah,
horse.
so she
Right.
was
Is.
so it's she's still, yeah, still
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Um there was Rosie first, and then once Rosie sort of told us, she was like, nah mate, don't like this.
Yeah.
Um we put her and Tommy in this field at home, living together.
Yeah.
And around the same time we took over the livery yard where you came.
Yeah.
Um there's Hazel, who we're good friends with the owners even now actually. And I basically just started loaning her, I suppose,
Yeah.
just looking after her, um, in exchange for riding her a couple of times a week. And she was just so lovely. I think, do you know, I think she is very similar to what Rachel used to be like from the stories my mum has said, and how Hazel was just
Right.
so kind and so lovely.
How
Um,
lovely that you were gonna and you ended up getting a relationship with
yeah,
what your mum had with Rachel,
exactly.
but with Hazel.
And it was just so nice. And she kind of taught me, built my confidence up again after Rosie. And, just she was so lovely. And she's always been very just spiritual, and in a way that sometimes I can't really even understand or don't even know why.
Intuitive.
Yeah, very intuitive. And we just had this connection that was sort of not really like any other thing I've experienced before. And I've always sort of said, you've got your heart horse.
Yeah.
I personally feel that Ernie's probably my heart horse and Hazel's my soul horse. And then Rosie's
Get
like my
it.
sister, like my twin
Yeah,
sister.
yeah, they all play different roles, don't they?
Yeah.
Your face lights up so much when you talk about the horses. It's so clear that horses are so important
Yeah,
in your
definitely.
energy. Um,
Yeah.
what do they bring to your life? If you could
They're
sum up
just,
horses, what do they
yeah,
bring?
just again, full of love, and they're always just unconditionally there for you. And, they're the amount of times I've gone up to them and just, if I'm feeling a bit sad or if I'm feeling really happy, they're just there to take
Yeah,
it all in and just be
yeah.
there. And, if I need a shoulder to cry on, I've often just gone out and just literally cried onto their withers, and they're just there. And then equally, if I've had an amazing day and I go for a hack or something,
They're there for
they're
everything.
just there for everything.
They're
Yeah.
so supportive and there for everything and so
Yeah.
surrounded with unconditional love. They don't judge us, nor no animals judge us. But with horses, they live kind of separate from us. They're not in the house like cats and dogs.
Yes,
So that they have
exactly.
a different perspective. And they
Yeah.
can be almost like that. that's something that we can go to, and they're like, you're
Yeah,
here, and
yeah,
it's so comforting to go to them separate from the home. There's something there that's just like a sponge and will soak up all our
yeah,
emotions and feelings, and we
exactly.
just feel so loved by them and so grateful to be in their
Yeah,
presence. Yeah, you
yeah,
feel that, don't you? Let's talk music. Animals are so important to you. I get it. Music's so important to you. I get it. What is it about music? What is it?
yeah. Well, I think how I sort of said at the very start, growing up, I'd sort of go to the horses with my mum every day, be together, and we sort of developed this closeness, me and my mum, and us two with the animals, and we sort of had that as our thing. And then with my dad, we were equally as close, but we sort of had our own things like the snowboarding and the
And he
skateboarding.
was in a band.
And yes, he used to be in a band, so he's always been around music and he's always had a music room. I'm actually currently in the music room. You can
Oh, you're going to
see
jam
all
for
the
us.
guitars on the wall.
Oh, how fantastic. And I
Yeah.
recognize some of those,
Yes,
or one
yeah,
of those.
exactly. So I've always been around it, and as soon as I think I must have been about 5 or 6, he bought me a guitar for my birthday or for Christmas. And then I started having guitar lessons and
And you
started
loved
playing with
it.
him all the time. And I loved it. And I loved playing with him and listening to him and hearing him sing and play guitar and any sort of videos of him in his old band. I just love it so much. So I've always been
Our
around,
daughter.
very much so. And it's always just been a nice little, I guess, yeah, outlet for anything really. I remember once he told me um that because he used to struggle with depression quite a lot, and
Mm.
he said that a way shows how he's feeling is by the songs that he sings.
It is like a lot of the time with these artists listening to their diaries, their personal
Yeah,
diaries. It's
definitely.
very beautiful. It's very telling about them as well, but
Yeah,
very therapeutic as a process. As I found
yeah,
writing music helped me in my life to get through so many situations. So that
yeah,
resonates what you're saying about your dad.
yeah,
I guess for you, just this, what did it bring you? A sense of calm? What? It's creative,
yeah.
it's
Yeah,
magical.
very creative, very calming, very comforting as well because I've been around, just constantly hearing it. It's very
Yeah.
comforting. So even now, if I'm sort of feeling too overwhelmed or feeling any emotion sort of a lot, then I'll just pick my guitar up and just let whatever happens happen. And it's just such a nice way. Again, similar to the animals, it's just there for you all the time.
You're kind of
It's
downloading, aren't you? I guess with animals, you're there
yeah.
meeting in the middle, in this safe place, this invited space.
Mhm.
With the music, it's kind of feels like it's a place like almost putting the tap on and just letting it flow, just downloading out of your mind any thoughts and things. So it
Yeah,
feels quite meditative.
definitely. Yeah.
Would you
Yeah, yeah.
say that about the
100%.
guitar
Very,
playing
very,
for you?
very, very much so. And yeah, just, it's always just there for you. You can just don't have to think about anything when you're playing. You kind of because you can't really, if you're playing a song, you can't think about anything else other
Mm.
than what you're doing. So
And you
yeah,
write music,
I have done a
write
little bit.
songs.
Yeah, a little bit. And usually when there's been something, I think I wrote a song or a poem after Zorba died, I remember. I made this sort of collage of like pictures of her, and I wrote this sort of poemy song down on it. And I think I'll have to find it. I've still
Yeah.
got it somewhere.
Music plays such a big part, like spirituality, like the animals in being support networks for us. So,
Exactly.
so important. Um, Obviously, for me, it was a no-brainer then that to get involved with you to help me with my song. Um, when you because I put out something on my Facebook page asking if anyone was musical. I remembered that you were, but already been on a course, so we'd already met.
Yeah.
And then you came forward so great, so like humble, and that you would help me. And it was, we've talked about this, you and me, yeah. And I was struggling because I didn't have a studio environment and a setup, and I don't play guitar, and I wanted it to be acoustic, and that feel for the Whispers in the Wind tour that we did. It was so important to find somebody that really got me. And we have such an affinity from animals and music that like I remember you just got in touch and said I can help you, and I was so nervous going round because I didn't know how we were going to get on to do it, and you made me feel so at ease, and you're so talented, and you just picked up that song very quickly. And I don't know how many people understand about scoring something, but you scored the music as well for me and put it together so that there were notes, and we were able to people could read the music for it, so you scored it. And you brought that song, you structured that song how I envisaged it and brought it to life for me. And then you came, not only did you do that, but then you practiced and practiced and practiced. And then you came and played it in our Christmas Whispers in the Wind back at, where is it? Pickering Grange?
I think so.
Pickering
Yeah.
Grange. Remember picking you up? We were both nervous. And off we
Yeah.
went. And you played other songs for me that I sang. And I loved the experience. And do you know what? I found that experience of coming round to your house when you were playing the guitar and we were working on the songs together so therapeutic for me. And it was absolutely like almost like being in a meditation, a meditative state. It was just, and we had so much fun as well, right? Because I've
Yeah.
got the outtakes of the stuff that we did. We were let rip, and we tried loads of different. I mean, we were very like going really like acoustic-y, like I don't know, Ed Sheeran, and then we kind of went into like Led Zeppelin, and you just let rip at times. Do you
Yes.
like a Janis Joplin as well? If anyone remembers
Yeah.
Janis Joplin, do you know? Do you remember her?
I can't say I
Oh,
do.
you should look
No,
her up because
no, I
there
will.
is a feeling from you of her in so many ways.
Oh,
She's a deep musician, so amazing with a guitar, really, really. Um, Music's so special. I was so grateful to have you on that. Of course, we'd met before that already on the courses. How old were you when you came on the course?
I it would have been 3 years ago. So I was 17.
2 day course.
Yes, because I did the 2 day course and then I came on it
So
again.
you came on the 2 day course. How did
Yes.
you find the first day? You're young. I keep saying that, and that's not me being in any negative way at all or patronizing, but you've come on a course that a lot of people, a lot older, struggle to just attend because it's I've got to be around all these people and I have to be my truth.
Yeah.
I have to let things go.
Yeah.
Everybody's aware of that before because they get prep work. They
Yeah.
know that they're going to have to look at themselves when they come on the course.
Yeah.
You rocked up. How did it feel?
I more look forward to it really than get nervous about it
You're
because
confident though. You are a confident. I feel like you're a confident person. Maybe
yeah,
it's more that there's confidence in the things that you've got a real passion for.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think and also always just try and stay in the moment and
Yeah. So
before the course I was obviously thinking about it and wondering
yeah.
what it'd be like,
Yeah.
but I knew that whatever my experience was, it would be amazing and I'd just live in the moment and just see how it
You're in the,
went.
you were in the best place. It was just
So,
allowing it to just be in
yeah.
however it was going to be. How was the experience for you? Did they feel like a tribe when you turned up and was around the
Yeah,
people? Did
definitely.
they?
It was just so nice. It's so nice being around people with similar, views on things,
Yeah.
similar ways of life, I
Loving
suppose.
animals.
Loving animals, we've all got that in common, but
Yeah.
at the same time, everyone's
Yeah.
so different and comes from different walks of
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
And it was so nice just meeting and getting to know people and but also sharing this experience with everyone. It was really, really lovely.
Is there anything from that experience of that first day that you remember that you can share?
I remember, I think it was the first time round, um, just the meditation. I'd done a fair bit of meditation
Yeah.
beforehand, but
No.
but it was so nice to be in a guided meditation and get to, I remember it vividly, the places we'd go to,
The
like the meadow,
tree.
the tree.
Meadow and
Uh,
the tree.
I often think about that, and it was so nice. I felt when I was in that meditative place that I had someone like holding my hands, and I think it was my granny. I've sort of assumed it
Pretty
was.
sure it
Like,
was.
thinking about it, I know it was her, and it was so nice to feel that and have that experience. And then all of the experiences with the animals and the
Mm.
pictures. Um, it was just yeah, amazing to kind of
Was it
everything
emotional?
I'd everything I'd been like living, the way I'd been living my life. It's sort of the course just kind of confirmed that everything I was doing already was sort of right and on the right track
Yeah.
and
Felt
carry
right.
on. It all just felt right,
Did
yeah.
you feel emotions?
Yeah, definitely. And um especially relating to the pets that I'd lost before then. So it was yeah, Cassie, the dog, and Zorba and
Yeah.
Granny and and even just yeah, in general, it was a very emotional in all ways, not just sad emotions, but
Arctic, people say as well. It's a real journey
yeah,
of different emotions
yeah,
and
exactly.
releases
Yeah,
and try and getting to understand ourselves more to become the vessel that then enables us to be there for the animals.
yeah,
We have to clear the clutter out so we can be there for the animals. Otherwise, how will we know what they're showing us is coming from truth?
exactly.
You get that, right?
Yeah,
I know
definitely.
you do. And the second day, now the second day started out all right, didn't it?
Did. Yeah.
At the village hall, because the first half of the second day was at the village hall before we go to the farm for the animals.
Yes.
You got to meet your guides. You had more experiences in that.
Yeah, yeah.
And then we went out to the animals. Was
Yeah.
it scary when you turned up to stand with a horse?
Well,
There were dogs, horses, cats.
yeah, yeah.
And
I mean, I'm not especially, but I mean the first course, it was when we did that spirit guide, the workshop.
meditation
Yeah,
before we went out to the horse.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
I think I got sort of told Hazel came to me, even though she was very much still
yeah,
alive and
yeah,
still is alive. But that again just kind of confirmed what I've always sort of been aware of is that
yeah,
she is my spirit guides,
yeah.
even though she's still here,
Yeah.
which has been amazing. And she was there as my spirit guide. And then it was as we left the village hall and were on the way to the farm, my mum rang me and told me that Charlie was not doing very well.
Yeah.
He was very, very ill, and so we just wanted to give him the best life that we possibly could
Yeah.
for him.
You
And
needed to
I
lay
think,
soft, didn't you, that day? It was
and
the right thing
yeah,
to be there with him.
yeah, and I think he'd been waiting for me to do the course and just holding on as long as he possibly could.
Talked about this because then when you got to him, you had some time with him.
Yes, and so I got there and I just straight away, I'd just fresh from you guys and arrived and I took my pendulum up to him in the stable and just straight away, connected with him and started communicating.
Yeah.
And so it was like it was like I was still with you guys having this experience with the horses. It was just I was at home with
Like you
Charlie.
were still with us. I know.
Yeah,
What an amazing, sad, yet a celebration of his life. But at the same time, the positive there is that you had got that understanding and you
yeah.
got to be with him in those final moments.
Yeah, it was so amazing, and I was just there, and then I was just trying to sort of get across to him, are you happy to pass on? Like, do you understand what's happening? Do you understand you're going to be in a more peaceful, pain-free
Yeah.
place? And he started off saying sort of no, he didn't really want to. And so then I sort of called for my spirit guides because it all kind of went a bit cloudy and I got a bit stuck. So I called for my spirit guides to come close and just all help get across to him that it was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And as I called for my spirit guides, I looked behind me, and Hazel, who had previously just been out in the field,
Yeah.
she was just stood right at the gate, right next to us, just staring straight over at us. And I was like, wow, that is just
Right.
incredible. As soon as I ask for my spirit guide, she's just there.
There's a guide.
And then after that, Charlie, it changed from a no to yes, he's ready and he understands.
Yeah.
Um, after after I'd left Charlie, after we'd
Yeah.
sort of said goodbye, and I was driving home,
Yeah.
I'll never forget this. The sky was just this most incredible turquoise colour. I've never seen it like that sort of before or since. So bright, this turquoise colour. And to me, I just sort of figured out with you the day before or even that morning that turquoise to me reminds me of my mum and reminds me of home. And so it really just felt like I was driving back and Charlie was just telling me he was home and he was okay. And it was just absolutely amazing.
Oh,
And the feeling of peace and love I'd felt, I've again never felt that before or since to that level. Just my whole body, and it stayed with me for a few days afterwards. I've just felt so peaceful and full of love, and it was just incredible.
that's beautiful. That really, really is.
Yeah.
Of course, I invited you back to finish the course, which was so important
Yeah.
um, for you to come back and do that and finish the course. Different experiences the second
Those
time.
experiences were just so lovely and just felt right. And, I was a bit nervous before, but, after doing the course, it would have, yeah, two times round.
Yeah, because
It
you've
just
done
felt,
because you've done photographs there
yeah,
on the course, and then you go out to work with the horses
yeah,
in like real time. So
that-
how did it feel? Just briefly, how did it feel different from a photograph and actually suddenly being there? I know what you're
yeah,
saying, a bit more daunting because you
yeah.
was it easier when you're actually
I
letting
think
that
it was
go?
easier. I think it was easier.
Nobody says it is.
And 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 since I've done the courses, I've done a few communications with
Yeah,
horses or dogs from the stables, and it is nice because you're sort of physically there with them, and
yeah.
they can sort of move you around.
Energy to energy, just blend.
Yeah, exactly. And if
Yeah.
had at one point I was doing one with a horse and he had a bit of an injury that the owner didn't know about, and he just kind of moved me to it, and I physically, whereas with a photo I think that's a little bit harder to get that more
Yeah, we
specific.
all do it differently, don't we? But
Yeah,
I feel being with the animals physically is really helpful to see the difference
definitely.
in working from a photograph. It's quite static in some way.
Yeah,
And then working with a animal in 3D that you can walk around and feel the energy. And you did all of
yeah,
that with Norman. You'd
yeah,
scanned around him, you were all part of him. And
yeah,
he was such a wise and still is such a wise teacher.
yeah. It was.
And I know that it was a great experience for you. And your smiling face. And I've got a picture of you all smiling, beaming with smiles at the end. We were all so proud of you, and I'm still so proud of you. What happens next? Like you're 20 years old. Keep saying that, don't I? And you've had all these experiences, and you're out there and you go away and you do your snowboarding and you're quite independent, very grounded, very spiritual. Where do you see yourself going with your spirituality? You just can keep
Yeah.
rocking up at places,
I mean, yeah.
jamming at places.
Yeah. I think I I've got a long list of things that I would like to do or try in my
Yeah.
life. And you know, anything from I've got being a stunt double on there to also being like a Reiki master, for example. I've got so many um sort of ideas that I'd love to just try and do and give it a go and see what resonates with me the most, and
You've got tools. You've got the tools. You
so
have got
yeah,
the tools and the gifts to do
yeah.
so
So
much, so
I'm
much.
just gonna I just kind of carry on as I am, I suppose, and see what comes my way, what opportunities
Yeah.
happen. And with the snowboarding, just keep having fun and keep as long as I think as long as I'm loving whatever I'm doing, then it will all be okay. And
And
that's
you
all.
certainly do love what you do. You have a
Yeah, and
zest for
yeah,
life. This girl that I met only a couple of years ago, um, so much affinity to, such a spiritual, deep soul. I mean, you bring tears to my eyes. Um, I have so many wonderful memories of you. I'm so proud of you, and you have you have shown such strength and such resilience, and yet you have such a beautiful story about where you come from, your family, and an understanding and an acceptance of animals passing over, holding on to the good memories, not living with negativity, not living in the past. Amy looks forward. Amy lives in the present. This is so important, guys. Um, we can all do that. We just have to look at letting go a little bit more. Um, Amy, um, I have no words. I am just so humble, so grateful that you came on to do this interview. Thank you, Amy. There's nothing else I can say. Just thank you. Thank you for sharing, being so open to it all. You truly are a very special person.
thank
Um, thank you so much, Amy, for being part of Soul
you.
Talking.
I'm
It's
I'm
very
honored. I'm
special.
honored to be here. It's been yeah, amazing. Thank you. I'm filled with so much love right now.
Me too. Me too. Guys, this episode is completely all about Amy Casswell, and yeah, it's a lot to take in. I hope you enjoy watching this episode as much as I've enjoyed being here with Amy and listening. And next week's episode, another amazing soul talking soul to soul over a cuppa or whatever. And yeah. But for this week, we're going to leave it with the beautiful Amy, who's rocked up here. She didn't jam today on the guitars, but she certainly rocked up, and I think that's what you do. You just rock up in the moment and embrace things, and that's what I love about you. Thank you so much, Amy.
Thank you, Richard.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much.
You're welcome. And thank you, everybody at home. We'll see you next week. Take care, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Bye.